I didn't want to make a movie about the crimes. I wanted to make a movie about the kind of people who commit these crimes. What really got my attention was how articulate he was, very intelligent, very witty, and just did not seem like what you imagine a violent criminal to be. No one was going to give me a fortune to make my first movie, so it was like, right, we've got limited resources. How do we make something that stands out from the 1.5 million other low-budget films? I wanted to push the boundaries about what audiences would find palatable on screen.
Hounds of Love specifically has just such an unsettling feeling in it.
A lot of people walked out. And we got some very, very generous reviews from international press. And I got a big fancy Hollywood agent out of it. And I just started getting offers.
Once known as Australia's most wanted man, Brendan James Abbott.
In 97, I was walking to a bank in Mirrabooka. All these cop cars just came screeching in, and all these cops with guns ran out. Can't come in, been a robbery, been a robbery. I'm like, whoa. They said that the suspect was a guy called Brendan Abbott, who was Australia's most wanted man, and I'd narrowly missed meeting him. Cut to 20 years later, head of Warner Brothers in Australia. And they said, what do you want to do next? So I told them about this. We did a deal that afternoon.
Let's fucking go. It has been a pleasure banking with you all today.
Did you get any backlash legally from anyone?
No one ever had a leg to stand on. But the biggest egos and the most difficult people that I've personally ever had to work with.
Welcome back. Today's guest is a Perth filmmaker. His feature film came out in 2016, titled Hounds of Love. I was a big fan personally, and since then he has worked with many actors, including Billy Bob Thornton and Michael Peña, who's also one of my favourite actors. He is here today to talk about his latest series, Run, that is basically revolves around the life of Brendan Abbott, the Postcard Bandit. I am joined by Ben Young.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being there while I got through that intro.
No worries, I thought you did a stellar job.
Thanks, Nav. We are here today at a new setting, so I appreciate you coming in, and I'm so excited to talk about this show. But I guess for anybody who's not aware, I wanted to give a little bit of a summary about yourself. You've been making films, or your first kind of short film was 2010, is that correct?
Oh, good question. I think it was earlier than that. I have been directing, I worked out about 23 years. So I was about 21. So whenever that was. But I think it was about 2004.
Right, okay. So Something's Fishy is what I had. Was
no,
it yours?
So that was, yeah, I made that, but I made that much later.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So what was the first one?
I'd made TV before I made Something Fishy.
Wow.
The first one was a movie called Aisle 4, which I shot I wanted to make a film because I'd never made one before. And one of the hard things about making a film is finding locations. So I thought, all right, what's something I can write around a location I know I can get? And a friend of mine, her parents owned a supermarket. So I asked her if I could get in there after hours. And they said, yes, thank God. So I wrote a little short film, which we could shoot overnight in a supermarket over one night. And we shot that, and it got shortlisted for Tropfest and made the Best of the Rest section, but we ended up selling it to Qantas, and it screened on flights. I don't know if they do that anymore, but they used to screen short films on planes, and mine was one of them.
That's great. I feel like that's a great place to watch a short film too.
Hell yeah. I don't know if they still do it, but if anyone from Qantas is watching, bring them back. It's a great place for people to get their stuff seen as well. I remember nothing made me feel better than someone coming up to me and going, I saw your short film on a flight. I was going, whoa, because at the time when you're making short films, people never see your stuff unless they're at a festival or whatever. And so, yeah, it was very flattering and encouraging to have people come up and tell me that they'd seen my stuff.
Absolutely. And so that you did that, she said 2004?
Around then,
yeah.
I think it was 2002 because I used it as a piece to get into my master's program at uni. And that was in 2003. So it must have been 2002.
Right. Okay. And then did you do something in between that with Something Fishy? Or did you do something for TV set?
Yeah. So I made Aisle 4. That one was called. Then I think I directed tons of music videos. And I think I directed something, maybe the next thing I remember was my uni film, which was called All That Matters. I did that at WA Screen Academy. Straight after that, I did another short film called A Shadow of Him. And then I went and did a kids' TV show in Broome called Trapped.
Cool. So do you reckon you would still be able to find these? Because that's probably what I couldn't find Something Fishy. I found a trailer for it, which was cool.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Something Fishy. Yeah, that was in there somewhere as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there was
a trailer for Something Fishy?
Yeah, on YouTube. I'm assuming it's the same Ben Young that had 123 subscribers.
Oh, Something Fishy. No, I made another movie as well.
Yeah, the Bush.
I made Bush Basher.
Bush Basher.
That was 2010, I think, or 11. And then I made another one. Screen West gave me some funding for something, and I've forgotten the name of it.
I couldn't find anything after that.
Remembered, it's called The Aquarium. It was a little comedy thing.
The Aquarium?
Yeah, which it got into Comic-Con, actually, back in the day.
Okay.
I completely forgot that film existed. And I was thinking of that one when you were talking about Something Fishy, which is weird, because that one's about fish. So, and Something Fishy isn't really about a fish. So, yeah.
Yeah, the Something Fishy was like focused on two kids, right? And they steal a boat or something? Or
yeah. It's about an Indigenous kid and a white kid, and the white kid's always getting the Indigenous kid in trouble, but the Indigenous kid's always getting the blame.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So I hope I can find that then. So I wanted to watch that, but I wanted to watch it before the Bush Basher, because I was like, I want to see the evolution here and see how it changes, because then...
I think Something Fishy is better.
You think it's better?
Yeah, Bush Basher has got better performances and is probably made better, but I think Something Fishy is a better story.
Right, okay.
And that's because, it's funny, like when you first start out making films, you don't have any input from anybody. You don't have to listen to anybody is probably a better way of putting it. And Something Fishy, I wrote it myself. I worked with a producer, obviously, who was a collaborator, but he certainly wasn't telling me what to do when it came to creativity or whatever. And then Bush Basher was a massive step up for me. That was a $150,000 short film, so hugely expensive, particularly for back in the day. And Screen Australia financed it. I had a really good, big producer, a guy called Ross Hutchins, who'd made the great TV show The Circuit. And so I felt a huge amount of pressure that I'd never felt before. And I felt this real eagerness and need to please everybody. And I felt like I was an idiot. And so I think that in my people pleasing, Screen Australia and the producers and everybody like this, I ended up making a more watered down version of the film than I should have. Whereas with Something Fishy, it was exactly what I wanted to make, because I didn't have anybody kind of trying to push me to go in another direction. And I think it was better as a result of that. And it's funny, I was telling someone yesterday, not that I think I'm hugely talented or whatever, but certainly the things that I've made that I feel have had the most success are the things that I've had the most control over.
Well, I mean, as we discovered before when we were talking before this, as a viewer, you don't realize just how much, that matters, because you just think, oh, no, this guy's doing everything.
No, yeah.
But you're not. And there's a lot of kind of people involved, and a lot of the time there's multiple writers on things as well.
Yep.
So, that's an interesting part of it. But then also, Hounds of Love was 2016.
Yeah.
The Aquarium, you don't remember what year that came out? Must have been after 2000.
It was a short. The Aquarium, I've got no idea when it was. It must have been around 2004, 5 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then Something Fishy was before Bush Basher. So Bush Basher was the last one before Hounds of Love?
Bush Basher was my last short film, period. And I made another one called, which I think is online, called The Planet Lonely, which I really like. It's a bit of an experimental, weird film.
That did come up actually, yeah, as well. Once again, this stuff can be fairly difficult to find. It's definitely not on Binge, but Run is, you can go watch it. But no, I was just interested in the jump.
Yeah.
And how Hounds of Love came about. And I mean, that would have cost significantly more, no?
Hounds of Love?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, Hounds of Love is a feature film. So that cost millions of dollars, whereas short films cost anywhere from tens of thousands of dollars to hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Even hundreds of thousands for short films is mind-blowing, right? Because you don't realize how much money goes into it.
Well, absolutely. I mean, when you think about the sheer number of people who you need to be involved in a film project, it's like something like Something Fishy, we made for about $5,000. But all of that went onto screen. Like, nobody got paid. had we been paying everybody, like that movie would have cost well over $100,000 simply because we shot it in Broome, you know? So like bringing all the crew and everybody there would have cost a fortune. But thankfully, I was very fortunate that we had some heads of department who just wanted to do it and flew themselves there. So it was, humbling.
That's how a lot of, I guess, these projects happen, right? Initially, is just people being passionate and wanting to make something. Yeah,
That's it.
That's everything. Yeah, yeah. And the movie industry is full of that because otherwise we wouldn't have a lot of what we do. So I heard something. I don't know if this is correct though, because I couldn't find anything else about it. Did you shoot Hounds of Love in your house?
No, we shot it in Hamilton Hill.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I was wondering if that was part of the whole budget
Where'd
situation.
you find that?
No, I know. So I just know someone who's in the like similar industry, and I think they mentioned that something along the lines of they thought you might have done that like just for budget reasons because we know that obviously there's the area is different to what we were talking about before. So I was like, oh, well, I wonder where they shot it.
Yeah. Shot it in Hammy Hill, but like one thing that advice to any filmmaker is never shoot in your own house because something will get broken, something will get damaged. And, but if you're out there, let me shoot in your house, but don't shoot in your own.
Well, also, you got to be careful, right? Because if the movie becomes really popular, then people get kind of weird, right? People do weird things. They want to come and look at your house and see where things were filmed. And
I don't think I've made anything that's that popular.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll find out with Run, right? Because there's certain things in that are, things that I recognized.
Oh, good.
So, and we're going to get into that because that's super interesting. But Hounds of Love, as we talked about before, the topic and the movie is quite intense.
Yes.
We talked about how you kind of came up with that and what inspired you. But making that film, I guess at some point you said, you hand it over, right, to the company. You go, here's the finished film.
Yeah.
What was the reaction initially?
Hounds of Love was good because I wrote that. My mum is a crime novelist. She writes crime fiction. And I was at her house one day in Gidgegannup, which is where she lives. And she just had a pile of books on the kitchen table. And they're all like true crime books. And I said, what's going on with these? And she went, I'm done with them. I'm going to throw them away. If there's any that you want, help yourself. So I went through and I found a book and it was called Why Women Kill. Oh, that's interesting, and I read the back and it was a case study of a bunch of different female serial killers. And I thought, I'll read this. And there was 8 case studies in there. None of them were Australian, incidentally. But the thing that they all had in common was that every one of the serial murders that was examined in this book, female serial murderers, was under the influence of a psychopathic, totally controlling male. And all of their psychological analysis, which was done after their arrest, they came to the conclusion that had these women never met and fallen under the spell of this particular man, would have likely committed murder in their lives. And that was a theme that I thought was really interesting. And I didn't feel like I had ever personally seen examined on screen, particularly on Australian screen. And so that was really where I got the idea from.
Right. But when you, once people saw it, like where was it, did people, I don't know, did you have anyone who was like upset by it? Was like, this is a bit much, or, because obviously it's quite an intense film.
Look, so it was my first film and I obviously no one was going to give me a fortune to make my first movie. So I was just very lucky. I was in a position where I was able to make one at all. So it was like, right, we've got limited resources. How do we make something that stands out? Because obviously I'm not going to have the money or the time to do things like car chases or big action sequences or VFX or special effects even, or anything like that. So I thought I'm going to have to make this about some pretty challenging subject matter just to make it stand out from the 1.5 million other low budget films that are made. And so I pushed it. I wanted to push the boundaries about what audiences would find palatable on screen. And I had some very visceral reactions. We had the premiere at the Venice Film Festival on the 2nd of September, 2016. I still remember it. And a lot of people walked out.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And it really divided audiences, which I think ultimately was great because it made it a conversation piece that ended up getting a lot of press, not just in Australia, but internationally as well. So, yeah.
Well, I'm being careful. As we said, because there's related topics.
Mhm.
Did you get any backlash for legally from anyone? Was no one kind of like,
No. Like, I mean, the film, like I said, it's borrowed a lot from a lot of true crimes. And obviously, you know, there are people in Australia, Western Australia, who think it's about particular West Australian crimes or whatever. And yeah, it came after me or whatever. But the film is a piece of fiction. There's no real names in there. It's no real events that it's borrowed from. So legally, no one ever had a leg to stand on. So, yeah, I mean, obviously we have lawyers and all of that kind of stuff. Every film does. So, yeah, we knew that we weren't doing anything illegal from the very beginning.
And which company was that through? Was that Screen West as well?
Screen West and Screen Australia financed it. And the producer was Melissa Kelly from, she was Factor 30 Films. That's who made it. I think she's changed her name now to Magnetic Pictures. I think. I could be wrong.
Okay. Yeah. And like so for me, I'm just curious, it's like, was there like a time when you first like, you know, said like, oh, this is what it's going to be about? And they were like, were they like, oh, like, were they like, because to me, I'm always like, oh, here's a spy movie. And people are like, oh, yeah, cool, spy movie.
Yeah.
When you tell someone that, was there ever, or what did your mum say? Was she like, oh, wow, interesting that you chose that?
Yeah. I mean, I can't even remember. Well, no. I mean, it's funny because the film kind of came out and was lauded as a horror movie, which I think was wrong, because I think that ultimately, if people who are fans of horror were drawn to it, I don't think that they would have liked it, because it isn't a horror film. You've seen it, you know, it's not even particularly violent. It's all implied. I just always thought that I was making a psychological drama. I didn't know that I was making a horror movie at the time. I didn't think that I was making one. I wanted to make a movie that explored complex relationships dealing with control.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I guess I want to mention before we move on from that film anyway is that I remember watching the trailer for that one is good. I actually really liked that. And there's a lot of, I've mentioned this with my partner before. I think it's something we really like about Australian films. I would put it in terms of this film. Some other examples are maybe things like Mr. In Between.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like, there was one shot in Perth, I think, called These Final Hours.
Oh, yeah. Zach. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
went to film school with Zach.
Oh, cool.
But he's got a new film coming out, We Bury the Dead, which was shot in Albany. And I saw an early cut of that, and it's excellent.
Yeah, we've been waiting for it because it actually was made quite some time ago, and it's just not been
years ago.
It's not been released yet, and I'm sure there's much to that.
Yeah. I remember he shot that well before I shot Run.
Yeah. So once again, eeriness. Sorry. Hounds of Love specifically, it has just such an unsettling like feeling in it, and I found that the soundtrack and the Australian stuff, the actor, is it
Steve Curry?
Steve Curry?
Yep.
Just his presence.
It's so good, isn't he?
The way that it felt or whatever, I just feel like you seem to be able to capture this uneasiness that you don't always see in a lot of other films. And sometimes it can feel forced, but there's something about Australian films and kind of the deadness of them sometimes, and maybe just particularly the soundtrack you're using, the color palette, everything looked a certain way in that film. And I guess, yeah, I mean, there's probably not even a question here. I just kind of wanted to mention that I just think you do something that is extremely unique. And I noticed that about the films, and it makes me want to watch the next one.
Oh, good.
Because obviously before I knew that you were doing Run, I was like, no, I want to see the guy who did Hounds of Love to do another one. And you can't help but let's do more true crime, right? Like, let's see more of that.
Yeah.
And you kind of did. So,
yeah, which is funnily enough set in Perth in 1987, which is when Hounds of Love was set in Perth in 1987.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I think, the other thing, I guess, before we fully delve into Run, is that you've done a couple of films since. You did Extinction, which is like really high. Like that's a
big American movie.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you went over there. You shot it over there.
Shot it in Belgrade, Serbia.
Yeah. Right. So, okay. Yeah. This is we're going to talk about it with Run as well, but there's the main thing that you have done a lot of, and I'm just curious as when we film movies and make it look like it's somewhere where it's definitely not.
Yeah.
Right. And you kind of do that most of the time unless you have tons of money, because no one's going to film in New York, too expensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
New York probably doesn't look like New York on screen.
Probably does. Or yeah. Well, you watch Transformers, right? You're like, that's China or something. It's not New York.
Right.
So how did the Extinction come about? Just simply because it's American, it's a big different thing. How did that happen?
That came out a direct result of the Venice Film Festival. So Hounds of Love played in Venice, and we got some very, very generous reviews from international press like Variety and Screen and Hollywood Reporter and Screen Daily and things like that. And so then, the agents came a knocking, and I got a big fancy Hollywood agent out of it. And then that agent had a screening in Los Angeles and invited kind of all the big producers from LA to come. And the response was very humbling. And I just started getting offers and for American stuff. And Extinction was one of them.
And what was it like working with, I guess just, you'd only worked with Australians, I guess, up until that point, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'd only worked with Australians. It was different because, like I was kind of touching before, Hounds of Love I'd written and kind of was very passionate about every word that was on the page. And when I say that, I mean, like, I let the actors change the dialogue and all of that, but like, there was nothing in there that I didn't want in there, and there was nothing that wasn't in there that I did want in there. It was exactly the way that I wanted it to be. Whereas Extinction, the studio obviously had a voice, which you can understand because everyone's paying for it. Producers had a much louder voice than I was used to. And so, I had to do a lot more compromise making that movie than I did on Hounds of Love.
This podcast is proudly sponsored by the Achievement Apex. Over the last 3 years, the Achievement Apex have gone from their first prototype barbell to having all 3 of their specialty bars featured in some of the world's biggest competitions. Their deadlift bar features their custom design ridgelock knurling and anti-slack sleeves, which ensures the weight is perfectly centralized every single rep, and on top of that, it's been used for multiple 505 kilo world record attempts. This year, they're expanding their products, kicking off with the full Affinity Grip Collection. That includes Strongman Tacky, No Sweat, Invisible Death Grip, and the standout liquid chalk, Alien Grip Jizz. You heard me. Just like their deadlift bar, these grip products have been battle tested at the highest level, including the World Strongman Games. If you're looking to strengthen your grip and avoid dropping the bar, or if you're looking for a new bar itself that is truly second to none, check out the Achievement Apex. Visit apex.fit and use the code PORTAPOTTY at checkout for 10% off your entire order. That's apex.fit and code PORTAPOTTY for 10% off your entire order. Right. Well, I haven't seen it yet, so I'm looking forward to watching it. I'm surprised we didn't watch this again. I think, as I said to you, the Australian stuff, I don't know if it's just because it's home, you're just like more enamored with it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a place I've been.
Good on you. We need everyone watching Australian stuff.
Absolutely.
I'm certainly more passionate about making Australian stuff now than I am international stuff.
Well, it seems to be growing as well, which is good because there's more opportunities just in general.
Yeah.
Like there's more people making films, more people wanting to be in films, which is really just what we need.
Yep.
A lot more funding as well. Probably not as much as obviously America, but Dante's Peak. Devil's Peak. Devil's Peak.
Yeah.
I don't know why Dante was in my mind.
Well, there's a movie, Dante.
There is a movie, Dante's Peak, but it actually, Devil's Peak, but it had a different name. It was
Devil's Peak is based on a book called Where All Light Tends to Go. I'm very upset that they changed the title of that. I think Where All Light Tends to Go is a far better title based on the book. And the movie that I feel like we shot is Where All Light Tends to Go. It's not Devil's Peak.
So you wanted the name to be the same as the book?
Yeah, absolutely. That was out of my hands. That was a fortunate decision that I was not able to play a part in.
Amongst others, maybe.
Yeah.
You shot that in South Africa?
Nope. I shot that in Atlanta.
Atlanta?
Yeah.
Cape Town come up for some reason. I don't know why it did. I'm not sure. Maybe there's an actor in it that was from Cape Town.
No, they were all American.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And one Australian was in it, Harrison Gilbertson, who was also in Hounds of Love. He was the boyfriend in Hounds of Love. He plays the cop in Devil's Peak. The nasty young cop. Yeah.
Boyfriend to Ashleigh. Yeah, Ashleigh Cummings. Yeah, okay, right. So, but I have a question about Billy Bob Thornton. He seems like a super strong character. What was he like?
He's best dude ever.
Really?
Yeah, he is so humble, so cool, so passionate about filmmaking, full of good ideas, and he's passionate. He's just like, he's got the energy of a 14-year-old, and I'm just blown away that somebody with his level of experience still just loves coming to work and loves performing and loves being a part of the creative process. And he's inspirational to be around. And Rob and Wright is exactly the same. They love what they do and just bring so much and are so good at collaborating. And yeah, they're a dream, both of them.
Are these guys like a different caliber? You know, like when it comes to like go time, and you know, do you notice a difference between working with people who are maybe less experienced?
Yeah, and usually it's insecurity. It's like, because when you like people like Billy and Robin, they know they're good, but they don't have egos. They're just relaxed, and so they're easier to work with, you know, and are confident enough that they know that they're going to get it right. Whereas it's the less experienced ones often are insecure. So not that I come across that many egos, but the biggest egos and the most difficult people that I've personally ever had to work with are usually at a much lower level. It's like when you get to the level of Billy's and Robins, they're just cool and they're egoless and they're doing it because they love it and they're confident. So, yeah.
Right. And it's a similar experience with Michael and Lizzy Caplan as well?
The best.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's funny. I've honestly found that some of the actors I've been most intimidated to work with have been the coolest. Jackie O'Halley, who's also in Devil's Peak, was nominated for an Oscar for Little Children. Awesome. They're all awesome. They're like truly the kind of the higher up they are, generally I found the easier that they are to work with.
Wow.
Which is not what I expected going into it. So, yeah.
Oh, look, you've always got to be open-minded. I'm sure there'll be someone you meet in the future and go, oh, man, this guy sucks.
Yeah. But thankfully, I'm really fortunate that I have never worked with an asshole movie star, ever.
Well, I can go about my day just never judging anyone again because Billy Bob Thornton's a nice guy.
He's the best. He is the best.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's 2023 or...
I shot that in 2021.
But it came out in 2023? No?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so, yeah. So that was...
Or 22. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the last... It wasn't called Dante's Peak, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That was the last thing before Run, though.
No. No. After that, I did a show called Population 11 for Stan.
Oh, that's right. We watched it. It's got...
Ben Feldman.
Ben Feldman.
Also, then I went on to the second series of the 12, and I did the last 3 episodes of that. I did 4 episodes of Pop 11 and 3 episodes of the 12. Then I did 4 episodes of Scrublands Silver. Then I did 2 episodes of Artful Dodger, which comes out in February. Then I did 4 episodes of Run. So, yeah, I did 4 projects between Devil's Peak and Run.
Oh, Jesus, you've been very busy. Artful Dodger is Disney Plus?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I haven't seen that either. This is cool, isn't it?
Right.
Really?
It's really good. And it was so much fun to work on. It was absolutely awesome.
Yeah, okay. This is... The funny thing is they're all on different things.
Yeah, they are.
That's the way the world works now, right? So, because Scrublands is on Stan.
Yep.
Population 11's on Stan as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
12 is Foxtel and Binge. Yeah, I forgot the other ones.
You did do Clickbait at one point, and that's
Netflix.
Netflix, right? Everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I did The Wilds for Amazon.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, okay. But The Wilds was like you just did a couple episodes?
I just did the season finale of season 2.
Yeah, and did that also have
Rachel Griffiths? She's the big Australian who was in it.
No, I was thinking, didn't it have one of the, or I might have the show wrong. It's a Dante's thing again. Is it David Howell?
Was he in that?
I thought he was one of those.
Could have been,
I couldn't be in.
He could have been in it, but maybe not in one of my episodes.
Maybe, I think.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it might have been because that's the one about all the women on the island.
Women on the island, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I need to watch that because that's also a pretty interesting concept.
It's a really good show. I really like it.
Yeah, okay. I'll have to look at it. Well, after I watch Run again, let's get on to Run.
Oh, sure.
Because honestly, I've got some questions. Honestly, watching it and trying, it was so hard, right? Because I'm trying to watch it, but then I'm also like, I've got to pay extra attention so that I can ask about little things. And one of the, I guess, main ones was the locations. And this is more because me and my missus kept noticing it, right? And then we were also like, that's not what that says. And it was because I think about two weeks ago, we went to like a vinyl fair at the Indie Bar.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think in the show, you're pretending you're in Adelaide.
No, we're pretending we're somewhere in South Australia.
Oh, sorry, in South Australia.
South Australia, yeah. We shot at the Indie Bar.
We're like, that's the pool because we're like, that looks like the pool from the Indie Bar. And then we saw another angle, we're like, that's definitely
Indie Bar. Yep.
So before we get into, I guess maybe
day of shooting as well.
Yeah, was it really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to ask just about that specifically, because it relates to the other films, that's purely budget, I'm assuming, most of the time, right? Like, you didn't want to have to fly all around Australia to film everywhere?
True. It's budget and time, you know, like, because if you're going to, like, yes, it's very expensive to move people all the way across the country, but it takes time to get everybody over there, you know, like you usually have, I think it's probably different for everything, but like a day travel time, you know? And so that would be God, that show is set in Perth, Fremantle, Adelaide, outback South Australia, outback Western Australia, Queensland, the Gold Coast. Queensland is the Gold Coast, but I meant, all over the joint. So it just physically wouldn't be possible for us to go to all of those places, or practical. Yeah.
That's what I was kind of mentioning that, because I was like, even if like you and the actor, it's like, as you said, it's, you'd have to fly 50 people or 100 people or lots more. Yeah.
The whole show was shot in and around Perth.
Yeah. So there was a couple of things, and I've definitely, there was one where I missed. It was like, that's not that, and I'll bring it up after. She's like, that's not where that is, and I was like, I'll ask him. All right.
Yeah.
But I guess first and foremost, where did this come from?
Good question. It's funny. It's kind of like, not to get too, airy fairy or whatever, but the universe sort of didn't give me much of a choice, because once upon a time in 97, I was walking to a bank in Mirrabooka, and as I was walking there, all these cop cars just came screeching in, and all these cops with guns ran out. I'm going, what the fuck is going on here? And it's like, can't come in, been a robbery. I'm like, whoa. Had I been here 5 minutes earlier, I would have been in a bank that was getting robbed. Like, someone would have put a gun in my face. It's fucking crazy. So that kind of stuck with me. So I obviously was very keen to watch the news that night to see, if this bank was on there. Sure enough, it was. And they said that the suspect was a guy called Brendan Abbott, who was Australia's most wanted man, who'd broken out of Fremantle prison in 1989 and had pretty much and then had been rearrested in Queensland, broken out again, and was just like, Australia's most wanted man. And I'd narrowly missed meeting him, by being at the other end of his shotgun or whatever he was brandishing at the time. So the name stuck with me. Cut to 20 years later, or something like that, more than 20 years probably. I went to court, not because I was charged with anything. I was just going to go sit in a public gallery and observe a trial which was going on. Me and my mate Spriggsy, who is a lighting guy who ended up lighting Run. But me and Spriggsy were going to go watch this trial. And we couldn't get in because a lot of people had the same idea as we did. But we found ourselves at the Perth court. And we're like, oh, okay, we can't get into that. There's another public gallery. There's a thing going, let's just go in there and have a look. So we went in there. It was Brendan Abbott, like trying to get parole or something like that. And I was like, that's the dude who robbed that bank that I was nearly in. Like, whoa. And so I saw him. He was on a screen coming from prison. And what really got my attention was how articulate he was. He came across as very intelligent, very witty, and just did not at all seem like the stereotype of what you imagine a violent criminal to be, So he became even more interesting to me then. And I started to think, well, maybe I should do something, about this guy. Then I just forgot about it and got caught up doing other things, as one does. And then I was hanging out with my friend Glenn Potter, who was the police advisor on Hounds of Love, because he was a former West Australian, God, he worked in every department in West Australian police, but he was a detective for a long time. And we became good mates on Hounds of Love and just catch up for coffee or a beer once in a while. And we were hanging out one day and he said, oh, Benny, what are you doing next? And I listed off a few things. It would have been some TV of some description. And he said, well, look, if you ever get a minute to develop something, have you heard of a guy called Brendan Abbott? And I said, yes, I have, Glenn. And I told him the story that I've just told you. And he said, well, mate, you're not going to believe this, but I was the head of the task force that arrested him. And I said, what? And so that was sign number 3. And Glenn put me in touch with a guy called, he writes under Derek Pedley. His name's Abe Mathodon. Oh, God. Derek Pedley. Put me in touch with him. And then the three of us kind of, spoke about this. And I wrote down some very loose ideas on how it could be a TV show. And then another coincidence happened. I didn't do much with it because I was so busy. But I'd written a couple of pages on what I thought this show could be about, but it wasn't anywhere near ready to take out to producers or studios or anywhere like that. It was more just the beginnings of an idea. And I was, then anyway, I went off and I'm shooting the 12 and I went to Sydney to do all the post on the 12. And they do this thing where the director does their edit of their episode and then all the producers come in and the director shows their episode to the producers, which is terrifying. It's never easy. And the producers give you all of their notes, then you go off and you re-edit it. So I was about to show my first cut of episode 7 to the producers of the 12. And half the producers were running really late because there'd been a crash on the Sydney Harbour Bridge. So I'm sat in the screening room at Warner Brothers in Sydney with Hamish Lewis, who's head of scripted at Warner Brothers, and Michael Brooks, who's head of Warner Brothers in Australia. And we're just hanging around, shooting the shit because we're waiting for the other producers to get there. And they said, what do you want to do next? And I said, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do next. And I told them whatever I was doing next. And they said, no, what do you want to do next? I said, are you asking me if I've got an idea for a TV show? And they went, yep. So I told them about this. And they said, oh, have you got anything written down? And I said, yeah, but it's not at a stage where I could show anybody, like it's too early. And then Hamish, very smart guy, just said, oh, well, like we've got people who can get it up to the level that it needs to be if we like the idea. So why don't you just send it through? Send it through. We did a deal that afternoon. And that was only about 2.5 years ago. So this came about really, really fast.
That's an incredible story of how it came about.
Sorry if it was long.
No, that's perfect. That's what we want. The other question I have, though, is have you spoken to Brendan?
No.
So you've not had any direct contact with him? You haven't tried to write to him? You haven't gone and visited?
No, and for a bunch of reasons. But first and foremost, two things were being made at once. We were making the drama and Warner Brothers at the same time were making the doco. And a drama is always going to be a drama. You know what I mean? Like we weren't there. The private moments that happen between characters, you have to make up so much stuff. And so it's very much an inspired by truth story. And I wasn't so interested in, I'm not making something factual. Like what we wanted to do for the drama was going to be right for drama. Let the documentary tell the story as it really happened.
So did George Mason. Did George have anything to do? I mean, surely if you're going to play someone, you'd want to at least meet him, right?
Yeah, but he wasn't allowed to for, a bunch of reasons. So no, and I spoke to George about it and he was really scared of it. And I said, look, you're not playing Brendan. You're playing a fictitious version of Brendan, and I cast you in the role because I think that you are the best actor for the role. And I'm not interested in you mimicking a real life person. I'm interested in you performing a character and making the character your own.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, when you explain these points, they make sense. But I guess there's more around it. It's more interesting because unlike other projects, you kept all the names the same in this, or maybe not all of them.
A lot of different.
But you kept, obviously, his name the same.
Yep.
Did you speak to anyone else that had to... Obviously, Derek would have been with
Glenn Potter. So Glenn Potter, who is the cop I was telling you about before, he was involved, and Derek, Abe, they were in the writer's room, kind of fact-checking us and giving us real information. And a lot of the events that happen in the show are true, we just kind of compress a lot of time and things like that. So, yeah.
But there's no real-life Jackie or anyone that you reached out to? Or there you go. Yep. Yeah. And you spoke to anyone or
Glenn Potter, he was sort of the person because he knew all these people. So we got the information that we needed to from him and from Abe.
Yeah. Okay. And then there was no sort of reach out from like Brendan's family, or you didn't have anyone sort of complain about the show, or they were happy with it? Or?
No, I got a call from Brendan's son the day of the release.
That's because he's got, he still visits him and stuff like that. And he enjoyed it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It was at the premiere. We had a great night.
Yeah. Oh, I guess that's like, you find yourself thinking that afterwards. As a viewer anyway, you're like, I wonder what he thinks of this. Yeah. I'm sure Brendan will watch it one day as well. So that's an interesting side of it. And it's cool to know that you had, because I obviously knew that Derek would be involved. Once I was aware of the book and everything like that. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. They've probably had him on set the whole time and stuff like that. Not the whole time, but was he there at all?
Yep. Yeah, he came, we visited set, but we're not making a documentary. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm the director. I don't want other opinions. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not there to service anything except the story. And I don't want, I'm not there to people please. And, it's got to be one singular vision,
I can understand it now more that, I'm talking to you about it. I'm kind of understanding, even with other stuff you've made, that you just want your creative process and what's happening to be about your vision.
As I'm concerned, I'm making a piece of fiction which is inspired by something real.
Yeah.
If I wanted to make the real story, I'd make a documentary.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is where it's weird, right? Because biopics are a huge thing now.
Yeah.
And there's probably just people that feel up and down about that. I remember the new Michael Jackson movie came out and people were like, oh, it hasn't come out, but the trailer's come out and they're like, it doesn't even look like him. And it's like, well, it's his nephew for a start. So he is related apparently. But also don't you care that he can act? Does it matter that it looks like him?
100%.
I don't care that George and Brendan don't look exactly like each other. George is an incredible actor, did a really good job.
Yep.
I'd rather that than some guy who can't act that looks like him.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But
it's little stuff. A story like this is so complicated. And with the amount of police and stuff involved over all of the years, there's too many characters for us to be able to squeeze into a 6-hour drama. So just given the format, given that we had 6 hours to tell this guy's story, you can't physically tell it exactly as it happened. You just can't. You could have made a whole series about Brendan's time in Fremantle Prison.
PedTest Australia is a WA-based company providing at-home testing kits for a range of black market substances, underground or counterfeit drugs that can often contain a different substance than what they claim, or nothing at all. In 2024, 5% of oil-based steroids contained no active ingredient. Oral steroids were even worse, 12% contained no active ingredient. PedTest Australia kits provide a quick and cost-effective method of screening products before they are used. Kit results help users make informed decisions about substances they choose to take and therefore reduce the risks they are exposed to. Don't take chances with your health and gains. Test it before you take it. Go to pedtestaustralia.com to order your test kits. Yeah, there was a part that was mentioned when I went to Fremantle Prison, and they talked about how, the scene where they're getting on the bus.
Yeah. And the burger.
But they didn't obviously have the exact change, so they had to go down to Hungry Jack.
Yeah.
But you didn't show that bit. You just showed them eating the burger afterwards, right? Which tells the same story. It's an interesting thing. I remember watching something explaining this to someone, and I was like, someone who's really good at it is Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
Where instead of showing me get up, go to the toilet, open the door, shut the door, do all this, whatever, it's like he'll show someone they'll stand up, the toilet flushes, they come out the room and go, like that. And it's like 3 seconds, but you know exactly what happened.
Absolutely.
Why kind of fill it with all this other stuff?
Yeah.
And it's also, like you said, you're short on time, so you're going to make the more important stuff happen.
Yeah.
And there was some great scenes in it as well. I think for me, the sweet spot was the action. It was like there was just enough that you weren't doing tons of it.
Yeah.
But it was like, as a viewer, giving you that fix where you were seeing enough bank robberies and stuff.
Yeah.
Without that being the whole thing, right?
Yeah. And we didn't want to make that, it's kind of like with Hounds of Love. I didn't want to, it's not about, I didn't want to make a movie about serial killers. I didn't want to make a movie about the crimes. I wanted to make a movie about the kind of people who commit these crimes. You know what I mean? That's why in Hounds of Love, the body count is almost non-existent, and in this show, I wanted to, because, there's been so many true crime shows and all of that. And what we were really trying to do was make a character piece.
Yeah. I think it's more than anything, it's good television. And that's really what matters, right? Because you could make this thing with whatever details and stories, and then someone would just be like, yeah, but it was boring to watch, and I didn't really, the shots weren't cool, and the characters weren't interesting, and then you're like, oh, cool, I told the truth, but it's boring, and it's not, and it's not even that it's the truth, but you focused on the wrong things.
Yeah.
I have some questions about little things, because
the broad brushstrokes of the show are true.
Of course, all the main stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's Brendan's not going to watch it one day and go, well, this isn't, what happened. But a couple of small things. For me, my missus had to ask this. She's got this thing with babies, right? When there's a baby on a movie. Yeah. She'll be like, that baby's fucking 12 months old, even though it's just been born.
Yeah.
when you had a baby in the scene, obviously it was Brennan's baby in the story. I'm not sure if that was in the episode that you directed.
It was Bonnie's episode.
It might not have been as well.
Yeah.
Do you know much about whether, I'm just curious as to like, there was a scene where she was like, that looks like a different baby. Is that with the whole situation with the baby, I'm just curious as to like, obviously you've got to get someone who then brings it on, but then like, do you sometimes have to change them out and stuff like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how many we had because they weren't my episodes, but having worked with them before, we have a couple of them.
You do? Yeah. Well, at least you used real ones, right? It wasn't like an American Sniper thing where it's like...
Oh, you always have fake ones too.
Yeah, but, I think that movie was like, there was like a shot in that movie and he got like a lot of slack for it and it looked really bad. Like it was like super fake.
Oh, that's so...
Or they CGI, right? Which is another thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I don't know. Curious as to would that be more expensive? More expensive to get a real baby or to CGI a baby?
Yeah, look, I don't know because the price of VFX and everything it changes so much.
Depends who's doing it.
Yeah. And some things these days it is cheaper to do it VFX than it is to do it in real life, where it never used to be that way.
So it's a quality thing. If you can get a baby in 240p, and then it's real cheap. Yeah. If you want it in 1080, it's going to be more expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a part. Once again, I'm asking for you, babe, because I know you want to know. There's a scene where they're at a bank. I think it's at the end.
Yep.
They do that last one.
Yep.
You've got the bank, and behind it, you can see it says like Scarborough Hotel, maybe or something.
It doesn't say Scarborough Hotel, but it's a hotel from Scarborough.
So it doesn't say it, but something where she basically was looking at it, and she was like, and it could be wrong, but I was wondering, did you splice anything together? Yes. Because she was like, that's not behind that, because she grew up in Scarborough.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So those bits aren't together.
No.
You were right. There you go. Yeah.
Well spotted.
Yes. Yeah. So you just to make it look that like location wise. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So because there would have been a bit of that because there was obviously scenes where you're in the Gold Coast, but you're not.
Yep.
And then there's a scene where you're at the powerhouse. I don't know if you said you were in Fremantle in the actual scene.
At the old Freo power station. That was Bonnie's episode as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But I think they were pretending to be in Adelaide, maybe there, or sorry, South Australia.
Can't remember.
Yeah. There was lots of little things like that. That was cool because you were. It was just cool to sort of be like, to know where that is, because obviously, otherwise, there's 100 movies I've seen where they've done it, and I've never known.
Yeah, right.
I never grew up there.
Wait, fun fact is, so Lily's house, the character Lily in the show, that house was down the road from the house that we shot Hounds of Love in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like one lunchtime me and the first AD, because it was the same. This AD worked on Hounds of Love with me as well. And one lunchtime, I don't know the area. He said, Ben, this is down the road from the Hounds of Love house. I was like, what? And he went, let's go have a look. And we went there. It looks exactly the same as it did, except it's got solar panels on it now. So, yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's really cool. That was feels weird to say this about that sort of thing. I love those old Australian looking houses. It is such a good choice for the film. And I was like, man.
It took so long to find that house.
Really?
Oh, so long.
Is it as simple as literally just driving around? Were you just driving like, nah?
Yeah, you saw your letterbox drop. But like and you have a locations person whose job it is to find them, but you got to help them out a little bit because they can't get into your head. And so you got to find some examples of what it looks like. But that one I found from like realestate.com or whatever. I ended up, because it just driving around can just take up so much time. So I just went up to realestate.com and just like looked at all these properties that were for rent. And that one was for rent. And I was like, well, can we have a look at it? And we just rented it. So, yeah.
Yeah, wow, okay.
Which was great because it meant it was empty. And empty houses are better because you don't have to move out furniture and bring stuff in. You can just bring stuff in. So
I was going to ask that because initially I thought maybe there was people in there and I was like, you had to ask someone and then it's, yeah.
It was empty when we went there, which was great.
I wonder if anyone that does live there now, I wonder if anyone rock up like, can we just have a look? And it would look nothing like that, obviously. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because we thought that the same with Snowtown when we were like, I wonder if anyone lives in that house because it'd be a bit creepy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone would live in it.
Someone would live in it, yeah, exactly. This is the other thing. Man, I was happy to see this. I believe this was in your episode when Glenn and Brendan are running away and they have the police. I could be wrong. This might be episode 4.
It is episode 4.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
But you would still know about this. They shoot blanks, that's from what I can tell. It's a proper bang, smoke comes out of the gun. I just see so much CGI shooting and
there's all stuff now.
Was it really?
Yeah.
That's incredible. It looked honestly like, is it weird that I'm impressed though? Like, did you think it looked good? I thought it looked really good.
Yeah, look, if it like, I'm sure that there's people out there who've seen some of my stuff who cringe at some of the VFX, but like, if a VFX doesn't look good, I just won't have it. I'd just delete the shot and not cut to it at all. Do you know what I mean? Like, if the gunshot looked fake, I just wouldn't be on the cop when they shot the gun, you know?
So, yeah, okay. It's like, do you almost have that in mind when you're filming too? You're like, I'll make sure I get a couple of things here just in case.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because that looked good. I was really, honestly, I thought it was blank.
Yeah, I thought the shootout in episode 6 is really good too.
Or any of it in there. Yeah. Because I was trying to find another one. I don't know. I think I picked like a new random CGI movie, like a science fiction one. And I was like showing it to my sister, and I'm a bit more of a movie nerd, so she's like, it looks all right. I'm like, no, it doesn't. This looks horrible. All the blood doesn't look real. When you see it done well, to me, it makes such a big difference to the realism.
Extinction has a lot of shooting in it, and that's half blanks, half CGI. But here's the funny thing with using blanks, because like cameras shoot 25 frames a second, which, you know, isn't real life. And so sometimes when you're filming blanks, you only get a bit of it or whatever, and they don't actually photograph very well, you know, depending on, you know, how the camera's twirling around. So blanks are not always photo friendly. Sometimes they come across really bad.
That kind of makes sense. I guess that's probably why you would just use a ton of angles and just try to, like in Heat, they would have just filmed everything and been like, we'll just use what does look good. Because probably heaps of it look crap, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And they must have spent, I don't know, however much. There's bullets everywhere in that scene.
Yep.
But I found that interesting, and filming in Fremantle. I'd never been to Fremantle prison, so this was the reason I went there.
Oh, thank you.
So
good.
Thanks for making it, because we wanted to go there anyway. I think she wants to go on the night tour, and I was like, that'll be cool.
It's a great, it's an amazing historical facility. It's just, you know, going on the tour there and the amount of stories that have come out of there and people that have been there, it's just incredible.
It's wild, yeah. As I said, we went on the true crime ones and got to, you know, big focus on Brendan. And when we got up, the part was still blocked off where they jumped over the wall. So we were like, oh, cool, and I took a photo of that.
Well, fun fact, the gap that they jump in the show is the actual place where they jumped.
Okay. So when you first walk in on your left, that's the actual spot where they jumped.
Yeah, wow. But the roof that you see them jump off is somewhere else.
Yeah.
Stitched it together, but the actual gap, that is the gap that they jumped. When you walk in to the left, that is literally where we filmed the jump.
Yeah, the tour guide had mentioned that because we were trying to find the part where they were like, you know, when he's like, pretend to fix the roof. And I was like, where's the roof?
That was Death Row.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Right in the gallows. Yeah.
Yeah, so we went through there, but I didn't see the roof because we were like,
the tailor shop that we used in the show, that was a set.
I was going to say
that was not at Fremantle Prison.
Yeah, so I asked her at the end, I was like, where's that bit? And then she was, oh, that's not actually here. And I was kind of like, oh, that's the part we wanted to see.
Yeah, that is now not on the tour. It's like, I've seen the real tailor shop, but it's got like, it's been modernized a lot now. And so we just couldn't make it work for
They blocked it off when we were there. I don't know, the sheet was up and stuff. Yeah.
It's not part of the tour. It's just a storeroom essentially now. But yeah, it wasn't going to work for us, so we had to build it.
That's still cool though. I mean, it wasn't, I suppose, like, you know, now I'm picturing it, I'm like, yeah, that would have been doable, right? It's a fairly small room. You never showed the entrance, which now I'm kind of thinking makes sense. You've only ever showed the room, and it's it's cool. It's
also really hard filming at Fremantle Prison because it is like a heritage building. We never would have been able to shoot the tailor shop there because you can't mess with any of the architecture or anything, you know, like so we couldn't have cut a bar out for certain.
Well, do you have to get permission, or is it because you guys had these guys behind you, like Warner Brothers and that? Do they do the hard work for you with that stuff?
Yeah, I'm just the director, so I don't do. I kind of say what I think we need creatively, and then the producers agree with me or disagree with me, and then they're the ones who facilitate it all and make it all happen. So I'm not cutting any deals or talking to anyone directly from Fremantle.
Cool. And well, I didn't have more Shazam at the time, so this is another thing. But there is a song. I need to go back and watch it again because there's a song, I think it's in actually episode 5.
Yeah.
But regardless of the 4 that you filmed, you choose all the music as well?
For the ones that I film, I do. But then Bonnie
chose hers.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I wondered that because to me, music is such an important thing in a film.
Yeah.
You choose the right song and it becomes iconic.
Yeah.
So there's one in season episode 5 that I'll have to find because it was I really liked the song, but I was focused on watching the show. And now I've got to go back and Shazam it or something because the soundtrack's not available.
No, not yet. I hope it becomes available because I really love the needle drops that we have in the show. I think it's really good. Was it the song that closes 5?
I think I feel like it's maybe not like a montage, but it's a Brendan scene.
Yeah.
It's and it's just a song that's playing when he's doing something. I don't remember it being a downer song either. I remember it being quite a good one.
I think it was Set You Free by Entrance, like a dance track.
No, that there was some funny dance tracks in there. Yeah, they were cool choices. I remember I turned to my partner at one point and I was like, this is the weirdest song for this. And she's like, yeah, but it works, right? I was like, kind of does.
Yeah.
But no, it wasn't a dance song. It was like a normal song. Man, I'll find it and I'll send it to you because what I'm going to have to do, this is why I haven't been able to do it, I'm going to have to play it on my TV so I can Shazam it.
Yeah.
Because I've searched for the soundtrack everywhere, but it's not available.
Oh, bummer.
Even ChatGPT couldn't tell me.
Yeah, right. We have an Offspring song in episode 6.
Not Offspring. Can tell Dexter's voice. It's definitely not him. Yeah, I'll find it. It almost sounded Australian or just not Australian, but it kind of reminded me like almost like the Killers kind of sounding song. But I will find it. It was definitely, but man, to be honest, especially this story, it all, I could just have all 6 episodes go like that and you could watch it as one big thing because it's so well done the way that you guys did it. And
thank you.
The pacing and the structure works that it all goes together.
Thanks.
Which I just can only imagine would be incredibly hard with a television show because
yes, it is.
There's so much going on. And you've got more than people, you've obviously had another director working on it.
Yep.
So you and Bonnie would have to have a lot to do with each other, at the same time respect each other's creative.
Yeah, totally. You know, like, so I involved Bonnie as much as I could with like the casting and stuff like that. And Bonnie like would consult with me when she was casting other roles. And so it's like, yeah, we were very collaborative. Yeah. And even when choosing locations and stuff like that, you know, like before I locked in a location that I was going to use in episodes 1 and 2, like if they crossed over into Bonnie's episodes, I'd talk to her and go like, is this going to work for you as well? And so, yeah.
And obviously you have, there's not just one person that does casting, right? Like you have someone who does casting, but you guys all would have inputs and
we have a casting director. So Nikki Barrett was the casting director.
But you had an input for who you wanted in.
Oh, yeah. You know, like I probably have the largest input, you know? So it's like a lot of people have to agree, like producer has to agree. So it's casting director, then it kind of goes to me and the producer, and then we talk it through, and then we settle on who we want, and then we take it to the network and say, look, this is who we want. And you know, and they were great and just went with everyone we wanted.
Well, there was someone specific, and I don't know if that's really a question, but I know her as Cheryl from Outrageous Fortune, but Robin Malcolm. So yeah, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Outrageous Fortune.
I'm not.
It's like a New Zealand Home and Away, and it has like 6 seasons or something. But it's what do you know Anthony Starr? He's now in Homelander and The Boys.
His name, yeah.
If there's a show called The Boys, he plays Homelander. I
haven't seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. He was in a show called Banshee as well. He was the main character in that. So he's done really well for himself. But he was in it with Robin. Wow. Grant Bauer's in it. Like it's a cool show. Like it's really kind of, if you ever watch it, it's real quirky. Anthony plays like a set of twins. Robin plays the mum. But it's just seeing her in it, especially because she's obviously from New Zealand. So she was kind of playing she's Australian in this, which I also didn't know. George Mason was also doing an incredibly impressive Australian accent.
Yeah.
And so, she was just someone I wanted to point out because I actually think
she's so good in the show, isn't she?
Great actor.
She's so fantastic.
Yeah. Honestly, Ashleigh Cummings as well is just like...
She's so good. She's, to this day, she's still one of the best actors that I've ever worked with. And I felt like that after doing Hounds of Love with her, and was so stoked and touched that she agreed to do this. And this is the first thing that she's done in Australia since Hounds of Love, which was 10 years ago this year. So, she's just phenomenal and the nicest, most humble person ever. I always get teary when I talk about Ash because I just love her so much. She's just the best.
We must have worked, obviously, so closely together for so long. A long time to film this stuff. And tough character, but she has such a crazy emotional range.
Yeah.
Hounds of Love, I can't even imagine
Oh my God.
how she did that
The
role.
trauma that both of us went through making Hounds of Love has just kind of trauma bonded us forever. So this one was a walk in the park compared to that.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, but there was some, once again, that eeriness was there. For me, I picked it up when they were in the Bulk Gym Chalk Australia are your go-to suppliers for gym chalk. Whether you are doing powerlifting, weightlifting, strongman, gymnastics, or running a competition event and need bulk supplies and prizes, they've got you covered. Options include block chalk, bowl chalk, liquid chalk, or invisible liquid chalk for those gyms where you aren't allowed other options. They even have a range of athlete recovery bath salts to soak those training aches away. Check out the range at www.bulkgymchalk.com.au. We're at a service station.
Good.
He is Georgia's sitting at the table.
Yep.
She goes up to the counter and sees the stuff on the is it a newspaper?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's that. He looks at her.
Yeah.
He sort of noticed the air changes.
It's funny. I wrote that sequence.
Man, I loved it. That was
cute.
That was the first time we were watching it because that's near the start. I think it might be episode 2 or something. One.
Yep.
Which is the highest rated, it seems. Which is
it?
From when it came up on IMDb, I think it just has the most ratings. But it was a great pilot. That was the first thing we said. I was like, what a great first episode to make me go, I want to see more.
Oh, good. Thank you.
But that sequence was the first time, when you're watching something, and you just sort of go like, oh yeah,
I'm in now.
I'm in.
Yeah, this is great.
So cool. Great sequence, man.
Thank you.
And obviously, great job to those guys for being.
Oh, they're both so good in it. It's just like I certainly my favorite things to film are when people aren't talking. Like I just find that so much television is just like too many words. And it's like it's a visual medium, not a radio play, and so it's just like as much as you can tell the story through visuals in action more than dialogue. That's my favorite stuff to watch, and that's my favorite stuff to shoot. And I hope I'll let the audiences judge it, but with this show, I really wanted to try and take a more cinematic approach and not make a show that relied on exposition and people just talking to each other.
Yeah, well, it's also a miniseries, right? So it's and now some people are. I'm sure you've been tagged with so much stuff that's like season 2, and
I hope so. That'd be nice.
Well, would you? I mean, I was under the impression or is it not necessarily categorized as a miniseries? Could you do a season 2?
Yeah, you could. Brendan's story goes on so long.
So you would?
Yeah, for sure. If the opportunity presented itself.
Okay, fantastic. I mean, that's exciting. I assumed straight away, I was like, I'd be so cool to have, because you always want more.
Yeah, good.
But you're like, maybe you can't, and there's probably so much that goes into if you get to do more.
Yeah.
But we're on our way out. You've got precious time. So I have a couple of quick fires I have to ask.
Yeah.
The true crime thing, I mean, I have to watch Extinction and a few other things. You're clearly great at what you do, but the true crime stuff is my favorite of what you do. Is there?
This is my favorite stuff that I've done as well.
Well, it seems like it would be, yeah.
I feel like of all of the stuff I've made, some short films and some music videos aside, I feel like Hounds of Love and Run have more of my fingerprints over them than a lot of the other stuff that I've done.
Yeah. John Butler Trio?
The zombie one?
Yeah. Video, right?
I mean, that was awesome. Like that again, John just gave me so much freedom on that. He just said, Ben, this is the brief. Zombies. Where I said, okay, like what? Like the band is zombies, a narrative. And he just went, zombies. Just write something and send it to me. And so I just wrote the concept, wrote the treatment, wrote it at the gym. When I used to do music videos, I go to the gym and I put the song on repeat on my headphones and just listen to it over and over again. And then an image would pop to my head or this or that, the other. And so then I started building a little plot for how this music video could work at the gym, went home, wrote it out, sent it to John. He went, no notes. Yeah, let's just do it. And that was it. And he almost had no notes on the edit or anything. And that was such a fun thing to work on.
That's awesome, man. It's
same cinematographer on that as Hounds of Love.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I mean,
and Devil's Peak. He shot Devil's Peak as well.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, this is the thing as well, though. Being in Perth, it's like there's you
I
obviously
think we shot in Georgia, so I brought him over to the States. Yeah,
but you would have a lot of as you said, you had like your lighting guy who's still your friend before, and he worked with you on the.
He was on Hounds of Love as well, and he was on Silver, and he was on the 12, and he was on Pop 11. So I've worked with a lot of the same people.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I love that. It's just good to know that people want to keep doing that, and I think we have, there's a lot of people that do stuff like that. Whether it's you got people like Kevin Smith, he does something similar, works with a lot of the same people and has lots of...
I mean, what we do is, I don't want to, but filmmaking is so hard. Like, the hours that we work are so long, and it's grueling, and it really tests relationships and tests friendships, and it's a very stressful job for a lot of reasons. And so you just want to be around people who you like, It just takes one rotten apple to, make the experience so much harder than it needs to be. And so when you find people that you can tolerate spending massive amounts of time with under sometimes incredibly stressful conditions in grueling environments, either stinking hot or freezing cold or whatever, you just want to keep working with them,
It's a huge compliment to everyone you've worked with, right? Because they know that, yeah.
I'm really fortunate that I've worked with so many great people over the years, and I call it like collecting, and I try, and when I meet like a dynamite human, I try and bring them onto as much as I can. And I'm a big believer that I would rather work with someone who's 80% right for the role. This goes for actors as well, but a really top human being than someone who's 100% right for the role, but a dick, So I've got a very strict no dickhead policy.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, no Mel Gibson, Russell Crowe films coming out in the future where people...
I know people who work with both of them.
They're probably nice guys.
Said that they're great. Yeah. So, it all depends on what perspective. And then likewise, I've worked with people who I've been warned were really difficult and had the best experiences ever. And so that's the other thing you got to remember is that everything's relative. And so this person might say that person was a dickhead, but maybe that person set them off. Or do you know what I mean?
Because they've been having a bad day, right? Yeah, exactly. It's a stressful environment to work into. Yeah. Well, I've got a couple of quick ones for you before we go.
For it.
These are going to be big questions, so it's going to be hard to give an answer, like a one-word answer.
Yep.
But so, true crime, is there any other story that if you just had no restraints, right, and someone was like, Ben, you can make a biopic about anything you want, here's unlimited money.
Yep.
Is there one in your mind you'd tackle?
Yep. I'm not saying what it is, though.
Oh, you can't tell us? Oh, okay, of course.
But I don't want someone else to go and do it.
Of course. Can you tell me when we turn the camera off? All right.
Yeah.
I get to know, not you.
Yep.
Okay,
I've got
cool.
a few.
Okay, cool.
But the big one that I really want to do is American.
Okay. Interesting. American would be cool. But would you, and that's, you would still go over there and shoot it there? You'd want
to.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, cool. Just me get that. Only I get that answer. If you could work with any actor, bang, tomorrow.
Oh, I'm going to give such a boring answer. It would have to be the actor who was right for the role.
Okay.
So no, there's not one actor who I just want to work with, because when I'm working on something, I get obsessed about an actor. Sometimes it's an actor I'd never even thought of before. Then I'm just like, that person would be just so right for this. And then I just want to work with them. But no, I don't have any fantasies about working with one person particular. I don't go, I've got to write a movie for this person because I just really want to work with that person. No. If I could work with any actor, I'll tell you who I've worked with next. Emma Booth.
Oh man, I was going to mention Emma because she was in Hounds of Love, right? But we watched Glitch.
Yeah.
And she was great in that as well. She's another...
I want to do something else with Stephen Curry. I basically...
Seen much.
He was in Pop 11. I was very upset though, because I only got one scene with him in Pop 11. But yeah, he's constantly working. But yeah, usually if I could work with anyone, it would be someone I had a good experience with, and I'd want to do something else with them.
I would put Emma, especially after watching Glitch. I mean, even Hounds of Love was incredible, but she's very similar to where I would put Ashleigh. They both just
so good,
incredible actors.
Yeah,
in amazing range, just people that are super believable.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. Well, okay then. Well, we talked about this before. This is a hard one. Look, I hate. What's the best movie ever made? Because it's such an answer where you're like, there's so many. But I'll give you anywhere from 1 to 3. What's an all-time for you that was just...
Okay, I know how to answer this question.
Okay.
Because I get asked it a lot.
You would.
So what you're asking me is what are my 3 favorite films?
Doesn't have to be best made.
Simple. Like, so I don't know if I could say that these are the best films, but the films that I have watched the most is the most honest way that you can answer that question. So I would love to give you some wanky foreign names here to try and make me sound more intellectual than I am or whatever.
Please don't.
And there's some that I love, but I'm not going to try and pretend that they're my favorite films, because the reality is my favorite films are probably the ones I've watched the most. And I can tell you the movies I've watched the most are Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Princess Bride, Fargo, and Star Wars: A New Hope.
I mean, they're not bad answers anyway. They're great answers. Yeah, okay.
Best movies ever. They're the ones that I just find myself watching over and over again.
Okay.
I've watched The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. I've watched that more times than I can count as well.
I've not seen that.
Masterpiece. Australian director Andrew Dominic.
Okay. I'm sleeping on it. I'm going to watch it. Okay. Wow. All right. I guess then I'm trying to, because you've not been so what would you say, like, in terms of your experience and the people you've worked with, what's one of the most, maybe you don't have to tell the story, but what's probably an experience that you remember working with an actor that was the most memorable for you? Like, have you ever seen someone do a scene that, like, it's sort of stuck with you, just how, maybe they just, it was their performance, maybe it's how they dealt with it, maybe it's how they were afterwards. Is there one that stays with you?
Yep. Yes, I've got heaps.
Yeah.
There's a scene in Devil's Peak where Billy Bob Thornton gets a gun put to his head. It was largely improvised, and Billy just did this thing, and it was unbelievable. And I think the scene is just, he's so good in it. And I was just blown away when he did that. Like, that, I get chills when I think about it. Like, he's just so good. That blew my mind. The other one is in Hounds of Love, and it's towards the end when Emma Booth and Ashleigh Cummings are having it out. It was scripted that Ashleigh just stared Emma down, and that's what broke Emma's character in the end. But it wasn't working, and it wasn't because either of the performers weren't great. It was just not working. And I just said, Ash, it's just not working. And she went, well, what do you want me to do? Like, I said, speak. And she said, what do I say? And I said, anything, but this is your goal. This is what you want. And Ash said, roll. And I rolled, and Ash does a bit of a monologue at the end to Emma's character, stab me, all of that stuff. And Ashleigh improvised it.
Wow.
Made it all up and on the spot. And it is such a good performance. And it was so good that Emma was just like, we only had one camera when we shot Hounds of Love, and Ashleigh just did that cut. And then Emma went, what the fuck was that? Quick, put the camera on me, because you are never going to get this. I can't create what I'm feeling now. And we just swung the camera around, didn't even light it or do whatever, and then just got Emma's reverse and just did one take on each. And that was it.
Hold on a second. You had one camera?
Yeah. On Hounds of Love, we had one camera. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just simply because you couldn't afford
two. Yeah.
Wow.
Or we couldn't afford the crew to operate two as well. So
it looked really good.
Thanks.
It must have been a pain in the ass.
It was. Yeah. We made it very slow. So, yeah.
The things people do for creativity.
I would shoot everything on one camera if I could. It gives you way more control and finesse, but it just takes too long. Danny Villeneuve only uses one camera.
Really? Wow. Okay. That's,
the purest way to work is with one camera.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, it's the old school, and you see the photo of the director, and he's got a big camera next to him, and it's like, that's the only one. Yeah. Oh, man, that makes that film so much more impressive. Like, that's really good. Look, man, I'm not going to keep you any longer, but I just honestly have to say that I could not even have recorded this. This is just for me. Honestly, I love Australian films. When I was like 5 years old, I was like, I want to make movies one day. And I never did, because I just told myself I couldn't do it.
Well, it's not too late.
It would never happen. And to be honest, that's something that's becoming apparent.
You told me your age. You're still young. Like, go and do it. And like, I truly believe that, like, you can't make good stuff when you're young because you don't have any life experience, and so it's an apprenticeship. And like, a lot of people don't make their first movie until they're in their 40s. A lot.
It's true. There's not a lot of 20-year-old directors, right? I can't even think of one.
Fuck all. There is a couple. There's a few, kid geniuses that come out there and make something good. But generally speaking, it's a very long apprenticeship. It takes a long time to learn. And a lot of the learning is just living through life and observing life and having something to say, because filmmaking is about more than, I think one of the only smart things that I ever did in my life was when I went to film school, there was different streams that you could pick, like there was the practical filmmaking thing or the theory, which focused on like screenwriting and stuff like that. And for some reason, I don't know why, I had the insight to realize that there was no point in spending 3 years at uni learning all the technology because it was going to change so quickly. So the one thing which is never going to change is what makes a good story. So I'm just going to study screenwriting. So that's what I studied. I didn't study any practical filmmaking because story is really what matters. And I think that really had a lot to do with the fact that I managed to get a career because concentrating on story is still the most important thing, like you can have all of the AI tools at your fingertips, but if you can't engage an audience with them, it's not going to work no matter how pretty and impressive the explosion is,
Man, that's putting it that way is a great example of where we're at in film, because we're now doing a full circle and people are bored of that stuff.
Well, and I don't know. It's fun to theorize about this, but, like people still listen to records, and like there's purists out there who would listen to a record over, streaming something any day. And I wonder if there's going to be a taste that develops with all this technology that we've got for films that are real. You know what I mean? Like people kind of going back to that Dogma kind of stage where like they shoot stuff really raw with like minimal technological input, and audiences begin to crave that because it feels less shiny and more authentic, like a record.
A24.
Yeah.
Is that a good example of what you're saying?
Well, yeah, but they still use tons of effects and all that.
I just mean some of their films aren't.
Yeah, but I mean like smaller personal stories that aren't driven by VFX and big, giant things that we need technology to create,
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm excited to see what is coming in the next 10 years from people like yourself or 15 years because of that mindset. And I think the more that we see of that's what I noticed in a show like this, in a movie like Hounds of Love. This feels real.
Oh, good. Thank you. That's what we wanted to do. So, yeah.
Wow, that's what it's about. Look, really appreciate your time, man. Thank you very much. If you are listening, go and watch Run. It is out now. It came out on January 1st, so it was a great thing to watch when I was hungover, and watch when you're not hungover as well. Man, Ben Young, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.